Welcome to Commercially Speaking, the only show where a Marine veteran breaks down CRE while his brother tries to make spreadsheets behave like a TikTok.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm Bo Barron, CCIM instructor, business builder, and the man trying to save Timmy from making financial decisions based on vibes.
I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD, actor, comedian, and proud designer of a cap rate tattoo that features 3 hats rated first, second, and third. We're 100 plus episodes in. Let that sink in for a second. Everybody visualize that tattoo yet? Okay, great. We're 100 plus episodes in, and while I still don't understand depreciation, I do know it's not a personal insult.
Subscribe on YouTube, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or don't.
But if we don't get Barbara Corcoran soon, I will be forced to give up my podcasting dreams and become a broker. So please do, please do, please do. Bo, before we move on, tell me what's got you all excited about these upcoming CCIM classes.
Yeah, so I get to teach 102.
Yes.
I mentioned this on some previous podcasts, but I want to continue to promote the courses that we're doing. The first one is 102 in Louisville, Kentucky, September 8th through 11th. Now, you might think, if I could take a 102 class anywhere, why on earth would I come to Kentucky?
Yeah. Well, the bourbon.
Well, here's the reason.
Yeah, why?
The course is in the Angel's Envy Distillery.
Oh, boy.
So the whole week in the course, you're in Angel's Envy Distillery with a big bar in the back of the room with the angel's wings and just super, super cool space.
I'll tell you what absorption is.
Yeah. That's a nice thing. There will be no drinking during class.
Yes.
Okay. But we are having a networking event there one evening. There will be tours. So wherever you're listening to this is a great reason to come to Kentucky, get a uniquely Kentucky experience in one of the coolest venues that you can take a class in.
Well, here's the thing. I can't make it to Kentucky. Or you got any other options, Bo?
Yeah, well, if you don't like the idea of the bourbon industry,
Yeah.
but you like Big Sky Country, 2 weeks later, September 22nd through the 25th, we're doing it in Missoula, Montana.
Oh, no way.
Big Sky Country. So
Yeah.
I've mentioned before, but my daughter's flying up at the end of that week, and we're going to go fly fishing for a couple days.
Come on now.
Out in Montana, so that's going to be really cool.
Brokerback Mountain.
And if you...
I digress.
Oh, boy.
That just came.
So if you don't like bourbon and you don't like cowboy culture, join us in October in Miami. October 20 through 23rd. You can hang out on South Beach and
Let's go.
And spend the days in classroom.
Let's go.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go. I love it.
Way to wreck that.
Those are 3 great options, and this is your chance to meet your hero, folks. Your hero. Bo hates it when I do that.
I am working on 2026 now.
Oh.
And looks like the first one on the calendar is going to be the end of March in Philadelphia.
Ooh.
We don't have that locked in yet, but yeah, if you want to go.
Potentially, you could do the classes right underneath the Broken Bell. That's where it is, right? The Liberty Bell?
I do think the Liberty Bell is.
Yeah.
Yeah, up
In
there somewhere.
Yeah. Alice, Google that, please. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, we got a guest today. You want to tell us a little bit about our guest?
Yes, our guest today is the kind of guy who makes Lexington feel less like a college town and more like a backdrop for a masterclass in high return real estate.
It's Anthony Humphress, founder of Eden Companies and the walking embodiment of, I'll build that and fund it and mentor 3 people while I'm at it.
This man has
renovated,
invested in, operated hundreds of doors across Kentucky
and beyond,
and now in Texas. student housing, townhomes, single family. He's done it all while running businesses, raising capital, and somehow still showing up for nonprofit work and leadership mentoring.
Meanwhile, I once spent a weekend in Lexington sleeping on a friend's couch while performing in a Tuesday night comedy show that opened with me pretending to be a chicken at a support group for chickens addicted to eating Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. Buck, 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 buck.
Anthony builds communities.
I try not to get evicted from them. Bo, you know, this is a real story. The last time I stayed in Lexington, I got paid a free burrito and 2 beers.
Is that true?
That's true. That's true. I was with the band.
Yeah, and Anthony was across town launching a fund.
Cool. Yeah. So same city, just different internal rate of returns. Or is it internal rates of return?
Just IRRs.
Oh, yeah, right. This is CRE. We're sent it to sound like, with the IRR and NOI, we could DST on the 1031, RSVP ASAP, and we're G2G.
Not bad, but technically DST stands for Delaware Statutory Trust, though it is a structure that's often used in 1031.
No. Now my IRR, internal rate of regret, is trending up.
All right, before this intro gets completely derailed, Anthony Humphress.
Anthony Humphress!
Hey, if you're new to commercial real estate investing, you probably know the feeling. Brokers, underwriting, raising capital, where do you even begin? And that's why CRE Investor Coach exists, to give new and emerging investors a clear step-by-step path to closing their first deal. I believe in this program so much, I actually joined the team as an adjunct faculty member. That's how committed I am to helping more people get into the space right now. Whether you want to go at your own pace with on-demand training, launch your first investment with expert coaching, or scale with a mastermind of other ambitious investors, there's a roadmap here for you. Inside, you'll learn how to define your investor identity, analyze deals with confidence, talk to brokers like a pro, raise capital, and build a real acquisition pipeline without all the guesswork. This is about building a business that blesses your life, not breaks your spirit. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually get in the game, check out the link in the show notes and start your journey today. Learn, launch, and scale with CRE Investor Coach. This episode is also brought to you by Site to Do Business, commercial real estate's most advanced toolkit, providing commercial real estate professionals like me with premier data, mapping, and marketing tools to win business and revolutionize decision-making. Visit stdb.com. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
What a trainer.
I think I'll just sit here and listen to you guys. It's great. I'm laughing.
I'm glad you're laughing.
Yeah, welcome. I am too. I'm glad you're laughing too. I threw a lot at Bo right before he came in here. I was like,
yeah. Well, you know how I got connected with Anthony?
No, tell me.
Matt Stone.
Oh, well, of course. SVM.
Friend of the show. It's been on an episode with him and Justin Ryder, but
that's right.
Yeah.
Matt
understood what we were doing with Hearthstone and connected me with Anthony, who has Eden Companies. And we've now, one of our deals in Fund 2 was investing in Anthony's deal in Tyler, Texas.
Oh, nice.
So I'm sure we'll get to that. But
sure. Yeah. Well, like for anybody that doesn't know, can you give us like a brief Hearthstone fund?
What it is?
Yeah.
Hearthstone is a fund of a fund. So we raise capital and we invest in other people's deals. What kind of our overarching idea is we invest where, and I stole this from somebody else, but I love this phrase, where purpose meets profits.
Yeah.
So there's a very real missional aspect. We want to fund the gospel. We want to glorify Jesus in the way we invest.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we look for great sponsors who have great deals. Like we do not sacrifice returns to do this missionally. We believe both can be accomplished. So we look for great sponsors who have great deals, who will produce great returns, and also operate their business in a way that's aligned with our mission.
Yeah.
And Anthony was one of those guys.
Okay.
And so we wanted to have him on here and share what he's doing there with Eden Companies and kind of his journey. And
that's right. Yep. Well, I was about to say Todd because of Todd Humphreys, but Anthony Humphress. Anthony, will you give us like just a 5-minute origin story of like where you came out, where you're from, what did you want to do before you fell into what you do now? Just kind of a little brief origin story.
Well, too, you guys mentioned a while ago, I'll talk about myself all day long. Favorite topic,
Let's go.
But I grew up in Campbellsville, small town, about an hour and a half. kind of southwest of Lexington.
Is that Greene County?
It's right next to Greene County, which is the home of the drink ski known as Greene County Holy Water. So,
Ski.
Oh.
You remember Ski, that soda?
I do not.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't go to Murray.
I didn't.
Yep.
But great town. Didn't really know a lot of business guys. Actually, my parents met at a church that I grew up in, and there was always a picture of a guy that started this church hanging there. We eventually found out he kind of looked like Dracula the way he was dressed. Turns out this is my great grandfather that started this church, and then found out his granddaughter, which would be my great grandmother, actually cleaned the county toilets. I guess there were public toilets, and that included the jail toilets. And so sometimes I'll tell people that story. And it's like, okay, so one planted a church, the other was cleaning toilets, and I'm still just kind of in the family business, because I love to see churches planted where they don't exist, and I love to provide people with clean toilets. So still doing the same thing.
Nice.
But yeah, I grew up there, played sports, ended up going to Transy. Didn't really know a lot of business guys. My dad managed the grocery store, and I helped him paint houses on the side. And mom actually worked at Free Balloon Factory for several years.
All right.
And so, which is another story. I walked in where she worked at the factory one day when I was in high school, and I was a total heathen. But man, there was lint covering the air, no windows, no air conditioning. It was so hot, so loud, you couldn't hear yourself think, and just people doing the same motion over and over and over again, 5.5 days a week. And I thought, like, man, if there's a hell on earth, this has got to be it, but it really gave me a lot of admiration for my mother and a lot of motivation to do something a little different. And so I wanted to be a counselor. Graduated, went to get a master's degree in social work, realized I didn't like listening to people's problems.
I can see that being a problem.
So that's a problem.
If you were going to be a counselor.
Yeah. But, and I always wanted to own and operate my own counseling clinic. It was kind of too stupid to realize it's probably more of a business thing. But, so I figured that out pretty quick. And in the meantime, there was an older fraternity brother who was in business and owned several restaurants. He started a fraternity ministry in the state of Kentucky. So I was working for him doing that. He was very encouraging of me buying rental houses, and just always kind of made sense to me. And I had a few other mentors. They were spiritual mentors, but they also happened to own a lot of real estate. And so these guys whenever I introduce them, I'm like, this is why we have food on our table, because these guys taught me what to do. And so I just started with one house in a neighborhood where I was volunteering with some kids in the youth group. And I had a couple of roommates, a couple $100 a piece in rent. And then we just kind of bought another house, moved down the street, and then got married and bought a few more. And it just kind of doubled every year until we got into apartments, and then it just kind of kept exponentially growing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Isn't Campbellsville like the smack dab center of Kentucky?
Exactly. They say Campbellsville University's library is the exact center. Some way you carve it up. Of course, all this stuff that I'm talking about in real estate was in Lexington when I came to college up here to play ball. So stuck.
Oh, I missed that part. You played ball for Transylvania.
Yeah, he didn't mention that part.
No.
He said he played sports and then he went to Transy, but
yeah.
Would you play basketball?
No, not quite. So I was this height in 7th grade. I was center on the 7th grade basketball team, but I played baseball.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Nice. What about my Murray State Racers right now?
Not bad.
No.
Their role is probably going to end on today.
Today.
Have they already played Arkansas? Do you
Don't
know?
ask me.
Alice, will you look that up? Has Murray State already played Arkansas as we record this? Because their run is probably over today. Arkansas is really, really good.
Bottom of the ninth, we might have to switch over.
That's right.
Breaking news.
That's right.
Breaking news. We interrupt this podcast.
Yeah.
Transylvania.
Give us a feel, what you just described, started with one house, started doubling over those years. Describe for us what Eden Companies, your company, what's it look like today?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a dreamer, so to speak. So I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, for instance. And so I guess, so I bought that first house in 2001 and 03. And again, I was a total heathen in high school. I kind of lived out my college days in high school, I always say. But in 03, I actually wanted to be a missionary. And I had a couple of rental houses, like 2.5 rental houses at the time, and maybe a few little ones in Campbellsville, actually. So we did get a few down there. And I thought, I could literally go anywhere in the world to do missionary work, make a difference in the world if I had a few more rental houses. And I always kind of thought, if you're doing business, God's kind of frowning at you a little bit. But if you're doing so-called ministry work, then he's happy with you. So I never would really allow myself to go the business route. Then I thought it was kind of a means to an end. And so I thought, if I had a little more rental income, I could literally go anywhere in the world to try to make a difference. And that was the first time I ever thought about growing the real estate company. But it wasn't necessarily to become wealthy. It was to try to make a difference in the world. So that's when I say Eden Company started in 03, when I kind of said that prayer, had that thought. Of course, I did not end up becoming a missionary. That wasn't in the cards. And I realized that ministry is technically anything you do out of your love for God, which could be cleaning a toilet or, talking to somebody. It doesn't really matter. And so kind of throughout that process, I felt kind of freed up to pursue the business a little more. And so I actually my dad had 6 and I had 15 single family homes on the same street because I wanted them to all be together there so they were easy to manage. And we rented to college students. And then we actually moved to the other side of campus. And so at that point, I thought, well, now that I've got to drive back and forth, I guess I'll look at any deals around campus. This was getting close to the 08, 09 crash. And so I did find several deals. So I think in 09, we went from about 70 beds to 140 beds.
Wow.
And then in 13, we did a huge refinance. I pulled out a lot of capital. First time I ever had that much capital. And so I partnered with the guy, Biff Buckley. We bought 143 units on UK's campus, which that may have doubled me again. I didn't charge Biff any fees or anything, by the way. We put in the same amount of money, everything. So I usually tell young guys, it's like you can't be going out and charging fees to start. You got to prove yourself a little bit. And people are taking a risk on you, And so that went well. In 2020, we bought our first non-student housing community. It was 125 townhomes. And then really a big part was in September of 21, a guy named Bill Eister came on the team. Bill's a very talented operator, ran the U.S. division for a Fortune 50 company at one point. And I was actually a COO of Family Life, for those who might be familiar with that, large ministry within crew. But he had moved back to Lexington, started something called C12, kind of an executive roundtable, and that's where I'm.
Yeah. Our dad was in C12 for years.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So Bill started that in Lexington, decided to get back into operations, grew a dental service organization. After about 3 years, I think they went from 15 million to 100 some million. And so once he finished that, he came over with me and the finance guy that helped him grow that dental service organization, Kelly. He came over. We finally got him in about a year later. So very gifted COO and CFO. And that's when the doors really opened for us to start doing more. Kind of hire a guy to be in charge of the construction company. We already had property management. And we really figured out the syndication partnerships at that time too. So that's kind of what brings us up to today. Past 3 years, I guess, we've done 4 or 5 syndications, sold out on the first one already. So far, so good though.
So you've got and kind of your investment syndication arm. You got a property management. Are these all separate companies or more like divisions?
They are. We call the overall company Eden Companies. And then we talk about how it's got these 3 different businesses under it or other companies. So one of them we call Eden Capital, which is the company that kind of finds the deals, acquisitions, and funds them. And we've got a flywheel strategy within this whole thing. And so really our first target client is really an investor or lender who's going to invest with us or loan us money, right? Trying to get that piece set up. And of course, we've never missed a limited partner distribution to date. So hopefully that'll continue. So that helps.
We hope so too, since we're LPs in your last deal. So we hope that's true.
There you go. Exactly. So that's kind of the first piece, setting that up. And then the second piece is really finding the deal within our deal box. And so our target client within that, we really feel like are brokers, because brokers are the one that generally bring you the deals. And so our track record for the last 17 years had been, we've closed every deal we've ever had under contract. However, in our latest fund, we did back out or pull out on one of those contracts. And I'm actually hoping that we can still follow through later and do that. The current broker doesn't know that yet, but
got to keep that record.
That's right. Because as far as I know, the brokers really like this, because if they bring us a deal, they know we'll close it. So therefore it keeps our pipeline kind of full with opportunities. Yep. And we underwrite, several dozen opportunities a year, and usually closing a couple of deals a year at this point. And then you go around, once you close the deal, we use what we call Eden Construction would be the second company to do all the renovations. And that's not necessarily about making money. It's more about controlling the timing, because we have to assure the renovations are done on time so we can get them pre-leased, and it affects the whole project. So it's really about control. And then the third company is Eden Property Management. And so we self-manage everything and have pretty high expectations. We've got things set up to actually be 100% financially occupied, because we do a fixed term lease that's 360 days, but we get paid for 365. So technically within those 5 days, if we can turn the property and already have it pre-leased for a move-in, we never lose a dime on vacancy. So that's kind of the pattern. And of course, once stabilized, we will then pursue a refinance typically. And we like to refinance instead of sell, because, if you sell, you got to pay taxes, you got to figure out where else to invest your money. And so it's like, if this goose is laying fantastic golden eggs and it's going to continue getting fatter and fatter, why get rid of it? Just refinance it and then keep the property, pay investors back their capital, and we'll just keep this thing rolling. And so that's kind of the strategy.
Wow. I was about to ask, why multifamily? And I understand that was sort of the easiest thing to start with. You bought a house and you rented it, and then you started to grow. And so naturally it went into multifamily properties, and that's where you cut your teeth and got your reps in. And have you ever considered going outside of the multifamily lane?
Yes. And I have done so several times. So I think like probably all good entrepreneurs, you're always looking at new stuff. And so we started an insurance company at one point. It's like, I hate paying insurance. So, if you can't beat them, join them.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
It was an epic fail.
Yeah.
You know, I started an insurance company.
No.
Yeah, it was bad. I don't like to talk about it. Let's keep going. Anthony.
So there was that. We invested in a roofing company, which wasn't too bad, but we bought a heating and air company, which made a lot of sense because we were doing a lot of heating and air work. But what happened in each of those companies is they're fantastic when they're serving Eden companies and our property. But when it comes to focusing on kind of third-party clients, we would really drop the ball because we wanted to focus on the real estate. That's what we do. And so it just never worked out. So the latest company, the heating and air company, we actually rolled in to some friends of ours, Todd Clark and Jamie Durham, are kind of buying up trades companies around central Kentucky. So they ended up rolling that in with them. So yeah, at this point, we always say we want to focus on multifamily, acquiring it, fixing it up, and operating it. So.
But a lot of your experience, though, and a lot of your beds has been with student housing. And I don't think we've had anybody on the show that's done student housing. What are some of the unique characteristics about student housing that make it different than just traditional property management?
Yeah, I will say I love student housing. And if I could only do student housing, I would. Couple of reasons. I love students and I love that age group. But secondly, the way the seasons work. So the biggest difference is you pre-lease or you want to pre-lease several months in advance. And so in my opinion, it's typically a matter of how hard you're willing to work and you can get 100% leased up. That might change, depending on the market. And of course, nowadays, I think there's one small university in the US that closes down every week. So you got to be careful. And you have to wonder how AI and technology is even going to affect flagship schools. But the biggest difference is that seasonality and the curve, and every lease ends basically about the same day. And it starts about the same day. And so you have this massive turn right before school starts. And so there's so much expense and so much time fit into that one kind of season. But of course, like I said, I love the seasonality of it because then you hit Christmas, students are gone, nobody's calling in service requests, nothing to do. So you kind of have a lot of free time around Christmas with your family. So that part of it's great. So, but I'd say those are the big differences.
Earlier, you mentioned deal box.
Mm-hmm.
And so will you explain what a deal box is and what yours is?
Sure. So Bill, the COO, came up with that terminology because I kept saying I didn't want to create this monster that just had to do deals. And so we didn't want deal heat is what Bill refers to it as. And so we have not built a system where we have to do deals, right? It's a box and it's got very specific parameters. And so if you're an investor, the greatest parameter that we look at is it has to pay at least a 7% preferred return. And at this point, we like to give back at least half of your initial capital by year 3 at a refinance. And so if the deal we're looking at can't do that, then likely it's not the deal for us. And because of that, we can only look at value add deals, more or less, because stabilized deals, they're just not, you can't force that kind of appreciation in 3 years on a deal that's already stabilized. And the margins are they're just too thin.
Yeah.
So we usually buy value add deals, and then we would love to get into some development stuff. We've built a few small things, but I think that's something we'll really be looking at in the future. So
Can you translate for me?
What I was about to
Dealbox.
ask.
Yeah.
Well, deal box is basically a set of criteria.
It's like a formula.
It's like it's a checklist.
Yeah.
And so
Which was 11%.
Well, hold on. If they have a deal presented to them,
Yes.
let's say a broker calls up and say, "Hey, look, got an opportunity here." They took a look at the deal and they see if it fits in their box.
Yeah.
Right. And so what his criteria was, it has to at least provide a 7% preferred return to his investors. And they want to be able to refi and return at least 50% of the investor's capital within 3 years.
Okay.
and then
There's probably some other stuff, but
the other probably key to that is, as an investor, you're looking at IRR over time and you're comparing deals with that. Well, in order to capture the true IRR, you have to show the capture of the equity and cash back to you, which means you have to sell the property and you have to show a sell. Well, we don't like to sell for reasons I mentioned earlier, but we usually run our deals out for 10 years. And at that point, based on the value, we will say, here's the scenario if we were to sell it, and this is what your IRR would be. And in order for it to fit our box, that IRR has to be at least 15%.
okay. And if you remember from our episode with Dr. Jeff Engelstad,
Yes.
15% will double your money every
3 every 5 years. That's
That-a-way.
right. Yeah,
Every
every
5
5 years.
approximately. You'll double your money approximately every 5
And then
years.
will
Yeah.
you translate for me value add deal?
Well, Anthony, how would you define value add versus stabilized? Because you were really comparing the two.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for those in the brokerage business or commercial real estate professionals, those are terms that are thrown around all the time. So I am interested to see how you define those.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you got to be, how do I say this, careful with the syndicator, because a lot of syndicators will say they have value add deals, meaning that they're going to add value to the deal. And the way you add value to the deal is either through improving the management practices, so you get it leased up for higher fair market rates and you increase occupancy closer to 100%. So maybe it's been mismanaged, but more often than not, it means you have to do a lot of renovations. So the way you raise those rental rates is by adding value to the apartment units themselves and the community. You add amenities, you put in a new kitchen, you add washers and dryers. And for that, people are willing to pay you another $150, $200 a month in rent. So, and because they're willing to pay more in rent, it drives your net operating income up, which drives your value up. And when your value's up, you can refinance based on that and pull back out some of that equity or forced value that you've added into that deal. So that's the best way I could explain it, I think.
Gotcha. That makes sense. You're buying something to improve on the value.
Sure.
Yeah. So
And if it's a stabilized property, essentially what you're doing is you're buying stabilized cash flow.
yeah,
So there's not a whole lot of improvement to be done.
sure.
And so you'll pay more for it. Your returns will be lower because the risk is lower and there's not a whole lot of improvement to do. So maybe it's just for some reason the sellers want to sell this property, but it's managed well. They've kept it up to date. There's not deferred maintenance. They're getting market rents. They're at market occupancy. There's not a whole lot to be done. You're just saying, I'll pay X amount of dollars to get that cash flow and to continue to operate that property. There's not a whole lot of improvement there.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a huge return. But value add, you can expect to get a higher return because you're going to buy it here and
Right.
improve it to here.
Yeah.
And there's, benefits. for
Got
the
it.
investor.
Got it.
Geographically speaking, though, does that factor into your deal box at all? This episode is sponsored in part by Site to Do Business, the ultimate commercial real estate data analysis and mapping tool. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, Site to Do Business provides the data and insights you need to make informed decisions and close deals faster. Frankly, it's the tool that I use the most in my business. Access comprehensive market analysis, demographic data, and powerful mapping tools like ArcGIS, Placer AI, and flood maps all in one place. Identify the best locations for your clients, analyze market trends, and present your findings with confidence. Don't miss out on this game-changing platform. Visit stdb.com today and see how it can optimize your business. And now back to the show.
It does. We love Lexington because there's what's called an urban service boundary around Lexington, which means we're protecting our horse farms so you can't develop outside of that boundary. So that obviously limits your supply of land within Lexington. And that's where you can buy and develop and so on. So it limits your supply. Therefore, you would think Lexington is a pretty decent market looking ahead into the future. Of course, we're here. We have our property management, construction. There's a lot of synergy. Even your marketing and branding in Lexington, that's a goal. So when I used to say on campus, when a student thinks like, oh man, I need to find a place to live next year, I wanted their first thought to be of what we call campus properties with a K. Get it? Because it's Kentucky.
Ah!
So now it's kind of like you're in Lexington and you're like, oh, I need a new place to live. I want your first thought to be of Eden Companies and to picture our logo and remember our signs, where our communities are, that kind of thing. So there's just a lot of synergy within that. Of course, we do have a deal in Moorhead, and that was in what we call the Eden Companies Diversified Growth Fund. And we felt like that was a little risky because Moorhead is a pretty small town. It's got a sizable university, Moorhead State University. It's close to 2,000 students. And we bought a pretty rundown community. It's really about the only apartment community in Moorhead, about 110 units. And it was maybe 70% occupied when we bought it, needed a lot of work. And our goal was to transition that and focus on students. And we didn't know if that would work, but it worked beautiful. The rents are higher than we thought they would be. And we've been 100% leased since this past August. Looks like we'll be 100% leased for the next school year. The property manager down there is a fantastic guy. So that's going fantastic. So that's Moorhead. It was a little different from the University of Kentucky because the students in Moorhead don't have the same kind of urgency that's been built into the culture around Lexington. So in Lexington, when all these REITs started building all these fancy apartment communities, they started advertising 365 days a year, which in my opinion created this culture among students like, oh my gosh, if I don't get my place now, I might not get one. Well, Moorhead doesn't have that. And in Tyler, Texas, where we have bought a 484 unit community right on top of campus, they definitely do not have that urgency. And there's no apartment community really in Tyler that's focusing on students like that. So we're kind of creating something new there and having to create that urgency. So it might take this first year for them to recognize, oh my gosh, I don't have a place to stay. I should have gotten my place sooner. So then next year they'll be on the ball. So
now I can tell you this, my son this past December graduated from UK and he lived 2 years ago. He lived at Crescent and State Street. Are you familiar with where that is?
Definitely.
An absolute dump. And it's essentially his fraternity got kicked off campus before he got there. And so they've got these houses that are all in a row. And I mean, like Animal House is way nicer than these properties. It was,
Oof.
And then he moved last year. He stayed in an apartment that was much nicer. I forget where that one is exactly, but
yeah,
they have, like, Will has that urgency that he's talking about.
Right.
Like he would stress out about where he's going to live the next year.
Yeah.
Way out. And I was always like, dude, relax. And he's like, no, 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 no. You can't relax. Like, I won't have a place to stay.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so I get what you're saying, because
I mean, I think we were 100% leased up on 3+ bedroom places by December. I mean, we're
Wow.
talking not
for the next
it's
August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny when we would rent to fraternity guys. And of course, I worked for fraternity ministry. It was always like, where's your satellite party house? I had to make sure that it was somewhere off of Waller and not one of my houses. Because if it's not one of my houses, I'm good, because they're not having that house trashed, so that's the key. Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I think it was back in 2003 when you had this epiphany of, I don't really want to go the business route. But then you had this epiphany that if I go down the business route, that gives me more freedom to be a missionary anywhere. And then you realized that you can be a missionary wherever you are. And you went right down the path, the business path. So what would you say to yourself at that time before you had that epiphany? What would you say to yourself or anybody else? First of all, why did you think that business was not a good route to go as a Christian? I'm curious about that. And number two, what would you say to yourself hearing that explanation?
Sure. What comes to mind and where the big click, and I mean, I had mentors that were in business like John Withers and David Burton and Bill Rouse. Those are probably three of my top three mentors from spiritual and business perspective. And I would have probably said that, yeah, business is ministry, anything's ministry or whatever. I wouldn't have believed it in my heart, though. But there was a teaching that I listened to. Is that Joseph Company, I think was the name of the organization that it was out of in Kansas City. And he was basically talking about in Colossians, about the slave in Colossians and how there's a reward in heaven for the slave. And it's like a slave doesn't even control his own time, or what he does, but yet he still has a reward in heaven. And there was this whole message wrapped around that you can turn this switch in your heart on, and whatever you do out of your love for God, that is worship and that is ministry. It doesn't matter what it is. And I don't know why that kind of revelation just really sank into my heart at that time. And I realized that. And I had one other, I'm very hard-headed, one other neat experience. I think this was in 2004 after I was married, actually. So it would have been 2005. And at that time, my wife and I were both working for this campus ministry. And at that time, we were both having to raise our own funds to do it. And I had maybe $700 a month in raw income coming in. And I was about to quit. I was like, this is going way too slow, And so I was having a little prayer time, and I'm a big journaler. And I felt like God said, hey, do you have any faith? And I thought, well, yeah, I got faith. I'm out here trying to raise money to do this campus ministry stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And I felt like his response was, well, I don't think you have much faith. And I said, what do you mean? And I felt like the response came back, well, you're not out there trying to buy any more houses, which for a guy who thought God was frowning when I was doing that, for me to sense that's what I heard from God was unusual. And so that's when I actually put a bunch of letters up on that first street where we bought all these houses, and we ended up doubling. And so that was a key moment as well, just feeling like I heard directly from the Holy Spirit, giving me the opportunity to do that. So those were key times. What would I say to myself before? What would I say to myself now? I'd probably say, take it easy. Don't be in such a rush. Live in the moment a little bit. So
yeah,
just always my head's in the future. So constantly trying to be here and now.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you put out a bunch of letters, you mean you sent letters to the other owners on that street saying, "Hey, I'd be willing to buy if you'd like to sell."
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because ironically, I wanted to keep all the houses on the same street so it was easy to manage.
Sure.
Because I think very efficiently, and I didn't want to be running all over town. And I still kind of thought that when I was spending my time managing the property, that wasn't good. So it was just a long journey.
Is that because, sorry to interrupt you, is that because there's like a misinterpretation of the root of all evil is the love of money, or it's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle, or a camel to go through the eye of a needle, than a rich man? Is that where a lot of that, like, oh, business is bad, misconceptions for Christians come?
I think for me, I could speak from my perspective, but yes, absolutely. I wanted to be of help to people, especially the spiritually and physically oppressed, both locally and globally. And it's like, I didn't want to be the man, that's just out there making money. It just didn't seem, very holy to me, I guess you'd say. And I was very judgmental of that, and actually wanted to stay in that first neighborhood. There was a trailer park in the first neighborhood that I volunteered at. And I mean, this was not a nice trailer park. It was very, very bad. And, but I wanted to live in that neighborhood forever, just to prove to all these rich Christians that you didn't have to buy the biggest, fanciest house you could buy just because you had money, that you could choose where you live and you could stay there and make a difference. So that was my mentality, and a lot of pressure, and so, yes, I think that is a lot of where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Can I go Sunday school on you a little bit?
Please do.
You might have heard this already, and I'd be interested to hear Anthony's. You mentioned two scripture there. Like, love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
So it's not money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the love of money. Right. So if you just think about understanding the truth that God owns it all and we're stewards, and having money, but not putting your faith in your finances, kind of solves that. All right. But it's hard when you have money to not rely on your own ability to fix problems.
Sure.
It's really easy to get puffed up,
right?
Start to have a lot of pride in that. And my guess is that's probably some of the foundational belief that Anthony was thinking about when he was like, I'm going to live in this neighborhood. I'm going to prove to these folks that, like, it's not about that, But that other scripture you mentioned, it's easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. You know what the eye of the needle is?
Well, it was the entrance into Jerusalem.
Yeah,
right?
It's a gate that's called the eye of the needle. So a lot of people, picture this. Well, let me start here. A lot of people read that and you're like, well, it's impossible.
Right.
For a camel to go through the eye of the needle, because they're thinking about a needle and thread, the eye of the needle. Like, that's impossible. Therefore, it's impossible for a rich man into the kingdom of heaven, which is not actually what it's meaning. The eye of the needle was the name for a smaller gate through the wall in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And so when you were going to enter with a camel, and I remember when we went to Jerusalem when I was 18, and so his mom and dad and Cody and I, we went to we went to Jerusalem. And I remember this is the eye of the needle that they're referencing. And they were showing us the gate in the wall.
Dude.
And what you'd have to do to get a camel through there is you had to take everything off of it.
Yeah.
And then you had to get it to essentially low crawl.
Yeah.
Like it had to get sort of on its knees and sort of work its way through. It was possible. It was a massive pain in the rear end.
Yeah.
And so essentially what that is saying is it's hard for somebody with wealth to recognize that it's not theirs. And that they still need Jesus, just like the person over there that has nothing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's harder to not end up being puffed up and proud and like, look what I can do and enjoy the power. And
Right.
which is why I think a lot of these guys in the Old Testament, like the kings of the Northern Southern Kingdom and stuff, like you would see them, they would have these incredibly, well, now we're talking about the kings of the Southern Kingdom. Some of these great kings would end poorly. They would end up believing their own press. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have these incredible lives and they would end poorly. And I think that's really what it's really talking about. But yeah, I think we've got a subculture in Christianity that looks down on business.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think there's reasons for that are probably pretty valid, but at a foundational level, I think that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
Because Anthony, do you know who Dan Sullivan is?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
strategic coach.
yeah, he's a strategic coach. So yeah, that's right. I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he has a quote that says, "Money solves all the problems that a lack of money create."
Huh, yeah.
It's like kind of a duh statement, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, frankly, we had a dad that we watched make a lot of money,
Yeah.
wealthy man. And we saw how philanthropic and how generous he was with it. Like he truly believes, or him and mom both,
Yeah.
that it's not theirs, that they're stewarding God's resources.
Right.
And so, man, our example of a wealthy man is a generous man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we can show the world that those things can equal each other, you know,
Yeah.
then, man, if you've got money, you can have a huge impact.
Right.
If you recognize the truth that it's not yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think as I was going through life, I realized that yes, money can be a tool for good and to build the kingdom of God. But then I realized I was trying to be Robin Hood in a way, like I'm gonna charge these people a lot. I'm gonna take their rent money and I'm gonna use it over here in this part of the world that's so oppressed and impoverished, right? Which, you know, then you kind of mature into you can't use people as a means to an end. Like everybody deserves love, which includes our team members and it includes our residents, right? And so I've been more excited I've been very excited the last, say, 3 years about the influence we have with team members and our residents as the company grows. As I am about kind of the stuff overseas, let's say. So that's been a neat turnaround. So like our goal, like our overall vision and end goal is that we would give 75,000 people a stable home to live in. And so we're far from that right now, but you know, I'm like, might as well shoot big. Why not? So,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we pitch out there to our team and kind of what brings us all together and unites us towards that vision is giving 75,000 folks a stable home.
Nice.
You've mentioned overseas, but share with us, like, how do you actually impact overseas with what you're doing in Kentucky and Texas?
Sure. Yeah. And I used to consider myself until very recently bivocational, basically full-time vocational ministry and full-time marketplace. And then, like I said, I got so excited about what God was doing in the business, I've really moved. And also I found several years ago when I tried to do one or the other, it's like I would grab it and try to control it, almost like Tommy Boy when he grabs that roll in the
Yeah.
just like I'd just mess it all up, you know. So I don't think God would like allow me to do one or the other, you know. I don't even remember what the world at my point was now. You might have to get me back on track.
Well, you were talking about being bivocational and how you try to control one and, you know.
Yeah.
You're talking, yeah, you pet it, you love it, you massage it,
Yeah.
and then you.
That's it.
Oh, I killed the deal.
You got the exact scene. I don't know what I was saying, but it was basically I'm excited about the opportunity to come alongside team members and residents and help them.
Right.
kind of thing. So
You're talking about being full-time ministry, full-time marketplace.
yes,
But the original question was, what is it that you're doing in Kentucky and Texas that's allowing you to have impact for the kingdom overseas?
yes. And so I was explaining the bivocational thing because I'm not sure how related those two were, other than the whole money conversation we just had. So like for the past several years, I figure kind of half of the money that we profited, we would give towards church planting efforts overseas where churches don't exist. And to me, like, some people listening might be like, oh my gosh, why is that guy proselytizing people? Why didn't he just leave people alone? And I totally get it. But from my philosophy and my relationship with Christ, and if I view him accurately, he was extraordinarily loving and giving. And if we all as humans followed his example, it would not only change our lives and our families, but it would literally change communities in the world. And so if there's communities that don't have the opportunity to know about Jesus and his teachings and to follow him, to me, that can only be a positive to have that opportunity. And we've seen that happen in several places. So that's what I love about it. I think it's not only eternally and spiritually transformative, but I think it's transformative even in this world now, physically, to create better homes and jobs and, everything. So,
yeah, I love that bottom line mission. Housing 75,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's it. With that, I did have something beside it, but I realized it was more personal, which is basically to see 0 places in the world left without an opportunity to have a church or to hear about Jesus. Yeah. But I kind of realized not every team member or resident or investor is going to be as excited about that as I am. So I kind of moved that more to a personal kind of vision.
Yeah. I've got something I want to try with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you hopped on, Bo was telling me this guy's got a real Kentucky accent, right? And I've been listening to you, and you absolutely do. It's a beautiful Kentucky accent. And when you were explaining Deal Box, when you said Deal Box, this popped into my head, and I hope you don't take offense to this at all. But I would love to hear you say, if you don't mind, life is like a deal box of apartments. You always know what you want to get.
It's going to be hard for me not to put the accent on thick when I say that now.
I would love it. I would love for you to.
I don't know. It might go viral. I'm not sure that's what I want to be known for.
Hey, don't say no. Don't say no to an opportunity to reach way more people.
Life is like a deal box of cookies. You got
of apartments.
What?
Life is like a deal box of apartments. You always know what you want to get.
Life is like a deal box of apartments. You always know what you want to get.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Life is like a deal box of apartments. You always know what you want to get.
You always know what you want to get.
Yeah. Like the last word I usually say in a sentence is drug out a little bit.
Yeah, good. Anthony, thanks for being a good sport there. That was great. The way you said box when you were explaining deal box, I was like, oh, he said box, kind of like box.
Yes.
Right? Box.
Deal boxed.
Yeah, box. Yeah. You always know what you want to get. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for obliging me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Anthony, you want to give Timmy a pop quiz?
Yes.
Yeah!
All right, pop quiz.
All right. I was trying to trigger their reaction.
Okay. You didn't like what?
So here, a lot of our episodes at the end, we will give Timmy a pop quiz to really see if he's been paying attention. And you can't see it where you are. Maybe you can a little bit, but he's got a full page of notes here, anticipating that we're going to ask him some questions about what we've covered today. So here's the rules. We're going to ask him 5 questions. As our guest, you get to go first. You're going to ask him question 1, question 3, and question 5. You can ask him anything about anything you've shared with us today or anything else. We can go full on Stump Timmy if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask question 1, I'll ask question 2. We'll alternate through question 5, and we'll see how Timmy does. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So, Anthony, question
good,
1.
Good question. So I mentioned that one of my relatives had started the church where my parents met and grew up. What relative was that?
That was your great. Oh, was it 3 or 4 greats? I'm going to say 3 greats. 3 great granddad.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
I thought that was right. Okay.
All right.
We're in that taxi car game show thing where you get money every time you get an answer right.
Oh, taxi cab.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Ben Bailey. Anyway, I wish I was getting money for everyone, but that is not the case.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, just a dopamine hit.
all right. Question 2. Anthony mentioned a certain supply constraining thing that Lexington does
Yes,
that makes him really like being an owner of apartments in that market.
right.
What was that called?
There's a border that protect. Oh, what's it called? I know it's a border that protects all the horse farms, right? Do I know what it's called? Can you give me a hint? Was there a name for this?
There was a name for this.
Yeah, that controlled supply. Yeah, I don't know.
You've got the concept. Essentially, there's a line around Lexington
Right.
that prevents development that would continue out and basically develop through the horse farms.
Right.
But it's called a blank service blank.
I don't know.
Anthony?
Urban service boundary.
Urban service boundary.
Nice. Most of the time he gets all my questions. So when I
I know.
All right.
I know. I must have been writing down the horse
Something
farm
else.
thing while urban service requirement
Gotcha.
was said.
Okay.
But that's why we do it. Now I know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anthony, question 3.
Yeah, I don't know how good this one is, but what are the 2 main things an operator can do to add value to an apartment community?
Yeah. Management, improve management, property management, renovations, right? So renovating.
Ding.
Ding, ding. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very good.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
And I might be totally wrong. I don't know. Bo teaches.
No, I think so.
Well, no, if those aren't the main 2, they're definitely 2.
Right.
You know, improve the operations.
Those are
and
the ones I hear the most.
do the things to the property that allow you to raise the rent, which allows you to raise the NOI, which
Right.
allows you to raise the value.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Great. Okay. Question 4. There were 2 metrics that Anthony shared about Eden Company's specific deal box of criteria when they're looking at a deal.
Yes.
What were they?
Refi for 50% of the investment back to the investors within 3 years.
Okay.
That's one, right?
Mhm.
And then another one I've got 7% in my head.
Mhm.
And
What do we call that 7%?
that's 7%. Well, we're not talking about the cap rate. We did talk a lot about IRR.
That's correct. Not cap rate.
Yeah. 7% preferred return.
There you go.
Yeah, preferred return.
Which means
Yeah.
for his investors, their preferred return, like that 7% gets paid back to them first.
Yes.
It's a preferred return.
Okay.
And so they look at the deal and they say, will this allow us to give a 7% preferred return at least?
Yeah.
And will it allow us within, and you're projecting for the future, but do we expect to be able to refinance within 3 years and return to the investors at least 50% of their capital?
Right. And it's also got to be a value add deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, because of those two, value add deals are really the only ones that provide that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because a stabilized asset, you generally wouldn't be able to pull off.
That's
Maybe
right.
the 7% return, but not the return of capital that quickly.
Gotcha. A deal box. You always know what you want to get.
Deal like that.
Well, good. All right. So far, he's 3 for 4. Anthony, bring us home. Question 5.
All right, I think I've come up with one stuffing. So I
All right.
mentioned that for X number of years, I have closed every deal under contract except just here very recently. So how many years was that? For the last how many years?
Well. That is a good question. My gut is telling me since 03, because that's when Eden kind of unofficially started in your head. And I'm not sure. I think that's what. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with since 03. So how?
Very good guess. Yeah, it's 17 years.
17 years.
Yeah,
And so
there were
when would?
single. I think I'm counting. There was a single family home rental that I backed out on at one point, and then there was actually a home my wife and I were going to move into that we backed out on, but it was personal. But to me, the personal business stuff are always full tied together. So
Right.
those were the
Right.
two. Yeah.
So basically, you would have had to just guess 17.
Yeah, 17.
Yeah.
17 years.
Okay.
All right. So
All right.
I didn't get that one, but yeah, it was a good guess anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I would have guessed 03 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
03 is,
I may have
17.
forgotten to mention 17. Usually I even sent out these Yetis, and on the back of it, I sent these to owners. Have you heard of this, Bo?
No.
I sent these Yetis out to all the apartment community owners in Lexington, 200 plus units, had our logo on it. Very nice. And the back of it was basically, my wife makes fun of this, but I was talking about how hey, last 17 years, closed every deal. And basically I put my phone number on there and said, hey, I'm a sure thing,
That's awesome.
About 17 years.
Oh, that's great. Well, Anthony, before we end up here, if you want to look at that camera and let our audience know or our listeners know if they want to get in contact with you, or if there's anything that you want them to stay up to date about, whether it's social media, website, how they can get in touch if they want to invest, whatever it may be.
Or if you're a student in Tyler, Texas, and you want a place, where do they call?
Big time. There you go. I would think the easiest spot would be Anthony at edencompanies.com, EDEN companies.com. And then our website, edencompanies.com, that's where when we purchase a new community, it's listed. And when we have a new deal that comes online, that's where we list it. So it talks all about us kind of thing. So those are probably the best two.
Excellent. So if you want to contact him directly, Anthony at Eden, EDEN companies.com, or you can just go to edencompanies.com, which is the website that'll show you everything that they got going on right now if you want to be involved. Now, if you all do want to sign up for a weekly newsletter, it's free. But what can they expect out of that newsletter?
Well, they get the weekly episode that we drop every week.
Oh, nice.
Straight to your inbox.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it's also it's a mashup of a lot of the things that I'm paying attention to, whether it's how to build great culture in your company, negotiating, commercial real estate, news, geopolitics, just a lot of business-ish stuff. And so if that's your thing, or you want to be reading what we're reading around here, we send that to you once a week.
This is
normally on Thursdays.
That's right. This is the stuff that Bo reads that garners a ton of appreciation and admiration from me. So if you want that appreciation and admiration from me specifically, you can go to subscribe.wgbaron.com and sign up for that newsletter. Also follow us on social media at Commercially Speaking. Hit subscribe. We want to get Barbara Corcoran in here, and that only happens if you hit subscribe. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can do that by going to Apple Podcasts, searching Commercially Speaking. Scroll down just a little bit when you get to our page, and you'll see the ratings and reviews, and that's where you can leave a review. Thank you all so much for being here. And also, we talk about Alice all the time. This is Bo's VA. If you do want to get a VA, a virtual executive assistant, you can go to superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. That's superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. I love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Anthony, thank you so much for being on here, man. Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice.
See you guys.